You know that feeling when expectations meet reality and all of the puzzle pieces that you maybe weren't completely aware of are put together before your very eyes? You try to count how many pieces had been fit together to make what you are seeing, but you realize two things. One, that you keep losing count of the number of interlocking pieces, parts, and things. And two, is that they have created an amazing portrait that's on display. Well, I may be talking a bit in exaggeration, and I'll admit that I find it pretty easy to connect with shows and characters, but ending almost every episode after the first couple of Kimetsu no Yaiba has honestly blown me away. It leaves me with that pumped up hype feeling that is so exhilarating. So today, I want to maybe just point to and show off some of the things that I think Demon Slayer is doing absolutely amazing, and so I hope you'll come along with me. The first thing to catch my eye, other than the amazing animation and how cute Nezuko is, of course, was the pacing. For a battle shonen to establish and get on its feet so quickly and effectively was absolutely staggering. From just episodes 1 to 5, what happens? They establish his backstory, his drive and motivation, he has his first battles, meets his trainer, gets well trained enough to go to a proper exam of sorts and get his title, fights an emotionally built up and significant boss, we are hinted at his power, he gets through the exams, and he begins his journey on an emotional, impactful, and resonant note. And to me, all of this never feels rushed. This isn't a one-to-one comparison, of course, and I'm not saying anything of statement of quality, but in Hunter x Hunter, for example, another show that I love, the time that it takes for Gon to depart to be a hunter, undergo the initial training, trials, and the exams, and finish onto the first deal is an arc that takes the first 31 episodes. They are awesome episodes too, but it is so amazing to see another show more or less cover many of the same plot beats in this record time and not have me feel too lost. It feels like there is almost always momentum on the screen. Just beautiful art, awesome fight animation, and emotional weight behind each action. Something I really liked too is how they sort of subtly hint at the ways that he may be special. Normally a show will tell you outright or immediately and in a very exposition-heavy way, but Demon Slayer, this far at least, has instead chosen to set up and reveal things in twists that actually make me surprised and in turn very excited. Instead of, for example, and once again not saying anything bad about these shows, but in the first episode of Naruto, the very first thing you're told is that the nine-tailed fox, this unbelievably powerful being, lives within our protagonist. Or in the first episode having Deku explain how this is the story of how he became the best hero. How Asta, for some reason, is the only one without magic, etc. Tanjiro is more or less just a normal, good-hearted kid, who we pick up with immediately before the tragic events that kickstart his story. Is there anything special? Well, he seems to have a hard head, but that is about it. Then, after seeing him train and struggle for so long, he finally cuts the boulder with the help of two of Irokodaki's past students. It's an amazing moment with such a look of bliss, love, and satisfaction on one of the kids' faces. They establish themselves immediately as strong, tender, and concerned people, and maybe the cool character design also helps, but it made me immediately like them. It made me think, okay, so Tanjiro is going to be watched over and maybe occasionally helped by these two. This is hype and cool in its own right, but having Irokodaki send him off, and as Tanjiro gets far enough, he credits and says, to tell the two kids something. That's when you see Irokodaki get confused. Possibly worried even. How would Tanjiro know them? That's when, spoilers, they are revealed to be dead. Although I wouldn't be surprised if some people had this hunch from the start. It makes you think with more weight back to Irokodaki's line about how he never intended Tanjiro to break the boulder, that's why it was so big, and how he doesn't want any more of his kids to die. I can't stress how in the moment I was when this happened. This is an example of how Demon Slayer subtly hints at Tanjiro's potential special strengths without outright explaining them to the audience or even to Tanjiro first. It teases us, dangles the intrigue like a carrot on a stick, and it makes me so excited to continue seeing where the story would go. Something awesome as well is that this development we got with the kids and Irokodaki, while just being a couple of episodes, really tied the emotional bond and hype needed for the first big fight. Tanjiro is being sent for 7 days out in an area where demons are starved and allowed to roam free. They are all supposed to be fairly weak, but not this one. A demon whose strength is that of 50 people, and who has a specific grudge against Irokodaki and by virtue of that, Tanjiro. The setup, learning how he was captured and put there, seeing him learn how long he has been cooped up, unable to escape, and Tanjiro learning all about Irokodaki's past disciples, is really something. Not only is this fight awesomely animated with cool creative shots, but the way that they used the previously established characters to not only double as a measure for how evil and strong this character was, but also an emotional anchor was crazy clever. Now, I'm not blind. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is unique to Kimetsu no Yaiba, but especially to see this double-sided use of the characters done so effectively in only a few measly episodes, I was just surprised how invested I was. Not just that, but we get this tragic backstory for the demon as well. It isn't just that he was captured by Irokodaki and left here for decades. You learn probably the biggest curiosity you have every time you see a demon. Where did they come from before they became a demon? In this case, it was the helpless victim of a demon attack once again. A small child who looked up to his big brother and was scared of the dark. Someone helpless, innocent, hopeless. This is another thing I think that sets Demon Slayer over the edge for me. I love Mob Psycho, especially Season 2, and it was mainly because of how the fights mix so well with the emotionally resonant, thoughtful, and empathetic moments. When Mob goes into a fight, he normally does what he can not to hurt or fight the other. He wants to reform, to make them realize that there is another way. Unfortunately, it is presumed in Demon Slayer that you literally forget who you are. That maybe the you were is still inside of you, but it isn't really running the show, and it is rare to have a demon maintain their sense of self. So I think we sort of see a mob-like response from Tanjiro in this story and context. When Tanjiro grabs the fading demon's hand, and its hand gently clutches him back while crying, it was something I could see Mob doing. Even these enemies, even the demons, were once normal people, just kids, scared of the dark and wanted to hold the hand of their older sibling. This empathy Tanjiro has despite his ruthless and aggressive fighting style is something I am glad to see continuing with modern shonen series. These more grounded, emotionally mature protagonists are something, no matter my age, that I want to strive to be more like in my daily life. It also may just be me, but I like to imagine the scene we see of the demon when he was a little boy catching up to his brother was a subtle way of showing that they're both moving onward into the afterlife together, after all of this time, alone, in the figurative dark. This also paints a good parallel of those two siblings with Tanjiro and Nezuko. So, to drive home, this really is what I mean when I say that this show uses its time as narratively efficient as possible. This first awesome fight basically combines in some way most all of the characters introduced into the story and gives certain resolutions, character growth. It does everything with grace, tact, and subtlety. Of course, the theme of family can't be forgotten. The fact that his main drive is in vengeance for his family and in pursuing a normal life where he can live normally with his sister is something most everyone can understand on some level and get behind, and it adds a lot more sentimentality to many of those actions. Also, Nezuko has an incredibly adorable design, I swear, it hurts. Then after this fight, to see Tanjiro come back safe, and the slight tears from behind Irokodaki's mask, the dead children leaving their rock and moving presumably to the afterlife, this was so satisfying narratively, emotionally, and of course, visually. Once again, maybe it's because I'm such a big fan of this setting and aesthetic, but it feels like it's so easy for me to get invested. However, I don't want to undervalue something that I think equally gets me into both the fights and the emotional moments. That is the music. The OST for Kimetsu no Yaiba is outstanding. Distorted electric crunching guitars and more traditional Japanese pieces mixed with beautiful orchestration gives Kimetsu no Yaiba an almost consistent flow of hype and beautiful moments to accompany the story and visuals. I know I'm just singing praises like crazy, but the main reason I wanted to share this so strongly is because where is everybody? Every time there's a big anime airing, I get tons of people talking about it, and maybe I'm expecting too much, but for the quality of this show, I feel like there should be more buzz. Is it something that is just being better seen and enjoyed than discussed? I don't feel like that's the case, because I'm finding it pretty easy to just type things that I'm loving about it. I feel hesitant giving stark praise to things, but at least at the moment, I feel like Kimetsu no Yaiba is brilliant. And other than small nitpicky things like CGI not looking great sometimes, I think honestly, I get most everything I would want from a show like this. Cute moe, adorable, wonderful characters or moments? You got it. Creative, cathartic, violent moments, and whole fights. It's here. Emotional swells and respectable characters. Of course. A setting steeped in Japanese culture and tradition. It's here. I hope I haven't overhyped it too much for anyone who hasn't checked it out yet, but I think this is the brilliance of Kimetsu no Yaiba, or Demon Slayer. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you enjoyed, please consider following my Twitter, joining the Discord, or doing what Whizbang2093, Akio, Thomas Greenway, and all of these incredibly giving other people have, by helping to support my continued existence on Patreon. I don't think I've officially said it yet, but YouTube, sponsorships, Patreon, and any contracted editing work I do is my entire income. It's my actual job now. And while I'm not quite making enough to scrape by, if I can build up enough in the next 3 months, this might genuinely be my career path. So of course, any and all help is heavily appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.